Hi, guys. This is Synchro Mystic. I'm Wayne McCroy. This is Richard Willett. Together, we're tearing apart the narratives that are carefully crafted for us by the mainstream media and the political sphere. How are you today, Richard? It's been quite a while since we've done one of these. We've both been very busy. I know you're hot off the release of your new book, and you've been out there doing the podcast circuit and everything else. How are things, my friend?
Thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it. Yeah, my new book is I Am Immortal, A Death Cult's Quest for Immortality. That's out on Amazon in ebook and paperback. And I'm trying to record the audio book when you've got two little boys running around, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. It's mental, and 5 cats. I actually was sitting in here last night. It looks like I'm sitting in the. I did have a light on behind me, so now it looks like I'm sitting in the cupboard. I'm not. I'm in the office, and a cat came through the window. I left the window open because it was so warm. A cat came in behind me. So there's all sorts kicking off. But thank you for mentioning the book. Yes, it's out. It's done really well. I'm really pleasantly surprised and pleased and grateful of how it's been received. And it is out, and it'll be the first of hopefully many. So I've been doing that. How have you been?
Just been busy. I mean, I'm trying to produce a lot of content stuff. I have a lot of coals in the fire right now. I've got some new projects I'm working on. I'm working on a new book. Hope to have that out later this year. Um, I've got some things going. My friend Jason Lingren and I have been talking about trying to do some new projects together. So a lot of stuff going on, and life gets busy, and I understand that, and I hope the listeners out there understand that, especially when you have a lot of kids and stuff. I have a lot of kids. I have
You have
too
a
many
lot of
kids,
kids, yeah.
but so I understand the struggles. It's very difficult to get anything done with all kinds of noise and chaos in the background. But at any rate, enjoy them while they're young because they grow up way too fast anyhow. But today we were going to talk about some of the big elephants in the room right now, which of course there in the UK is the whole digital ID push, and here in the US, and I'm sure this is also over there and everywhere around the world, the advent of all of these data centers going in everywhere. What's the true agenda behind all of it? What's the push for it? Why? When nobody wants these things, why are they still coming up everywhere? And this is the ridiculous thing. They're buying up all kinds of land, farmland especially, to build these gigantic data centers, and they're using massive amounts of water and electricity and everything else, and nobody wants them, and there's really no justification for building them. And here's the thing, who's funding these? And these are the questions people don't ask about this. And this directly ties to the digital ID thing. You know how they work, Richard. They're always running these different ops at different levels in different areas of the world all at once. And of course, we'll have to touch on the whole epidemic or pandemic situation thing as well that they're trying to engineer right now. It all relates together. It's amazing how all these things coalesce. Oh, and don't forget about the aliens.
Yes.
That's the other big thing. The aliens. And we've talked about this in the past. You'll notice I've pointed this out over and over again for the past several years, since at least 2018 now. I've noticed anytime that you see this push or narrative about aliens, UFOs, this stuff, you will always intrinsically find attached to that narrative something relating to microbes or germs or viruses. They're all interconnected. It's coded language, it's code. So they're gearing up for something. And I think we're beginning to see the beginning phases of this rolling out. And it relates to all these other aspects, the data centers, the digital ID. It's amazing how they craft these narratives in place and put it out there in the information field for people's minds to pick up on and not really conceive of what's going on with it. They think it's all fragmented and disjointed and not related one thing to the other. They don't see the big picture. And we're here to put together the puzzle pieces to show you the big picture, because viruses equals aliens equals data collection equals mass surveillance equals digital ID equals total control by these psychopaths that run things in this world.
Yep.
And that's what we're looking at here. So we could get a little bit further into some of the details here, Richard. What would you like to add?
Well, I just want to dovetail off exactly what you said. So all the equals that you just added up, then it equals from the mass surveillance into the mass surveillance, so people are compliant towards a narrative which is kind of messianic. But what I found out yesterday, so I was doing some research for a new show, about Roberto Calvi, the God's banker, ended up under Blackfriars Bridge, and that's symbolic of all sorts. That's the thing they wear, the kappa they wear in the Catholic Church. Um, but what I didn't realize is when I looked into, so I started to look into the money part of it and Pepe Orsini and stuff. But what I didn't realize was that the IRO, which is the Vatican Bank, actually has shares indexes, and you'll never guess who they have shares indexes with: Google, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla, and Nvidia.
Palantir. How about Palantir?
Palantir will be underneath one of them. Yeah. But they're the ones
No,
got
no
share
doubt.
in. They're all big tech. They're all US big tech. So Nvidia, which is the chips. You've got Tesla, obviously Elon Musk. You've got Google, Alphabet, and you've got Apple, and you've got Meta, Facebook. The Vatican have business interests in these. So then you go back and go, well, why? Well, if you wanted to have an AI godhead and an AI church, you probably want big tech involved and have a stake, literally, like a vampire, in their rollout. So this is the whole thing that I talk about in my book, the Triple Crown Corporation, the Vatican, Washington DC, and the City of London. So then you come back to we were talking about yesterday quickly, and I'll just quickly go through. It's the City of London. Yesterday or the day before, I think it was, Tommy Robinson had his big rally here in the UK. The whole folks Christian thing, which is clearly not anything to do with Christianity, but they're using that. They're all Zionists. Not the people that turn up, obviously, they're genuine, most of them, but the people that are on the stage are funded by Robert Shillman and these guys of the Zionist elk. Well, what people don't realise is that he's coming out, Tommy Robinson, bouncing around on the stage saying, get rid of Keir Starmer, get rid of Keir Starmer. Well, Keir Starmer, and I pointed this out on X, and it's done quite well. Well, Keir Starmer's just given massive contracts to Palantir. Palantir are in business, actual AI business with XAI to roll this tech out. XAI is who? Elon Musk. And who did Elon Musk pay legal fees for? Tommy Robinson. So where do you think the government's money's going? It's going from your pocket through the government to Palantir, down to XAI, through Musk into Tommy Robinson's back pocket. They're all setting you up for a digital ID. So you've got 50,000 allegedly people in London all being face tracked yesterday. And where did they march round? The City of London. And another thing I just want to quickly, this is how messed up it is. So you've got the Met Police now are going to be using Palantir technology to spy on the people. But what people don't know is that the Palantir is also being used to track data on the Met police officers as well. So they are actually performing what they should be. And one of them is a big push against anti Semitism. This is how deeply ingrained people don't realize. And Met means death in Hebrew, by the way. So it's the death police or dead police. They don't realize that the police are under the surveillance and having to do what they're told by the same tech and rolling that tech out on the people. It's insidious, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely hideous, and we see this going on. And it's not just there in the UK and here in America. This is all across the world. They've been putting the infrastructure in place for this total surveillance network everywhere. And this is all part and parcel of their planning. And you can actually look. I just posted something on Facebook the other day. It was a video taken in China where they have these police drones that fly around the city. And if somebody is like parked in a no parking zone or something, it flies over the car and it loudly announces to them, "You move your car, you've been tracked and monitored, we have you tagged, and there will be consequences if you don't comply." And the guy runs over, gets in the car, and drives away from where he had it parked because he parked there for like a second to just run and do something quick in like what was a no parking zone. And this is the type of total surveillance we're talking about. Absolute police state. They've rolled this out in portions of China already. And you can find these videos online. Like, this is not an unknown thing. And if you think that can't come to the Western world, you're sadly and sorely mistaken. That's what they're trying to build. That's why they're trying to institute these policies that mandate digital IDs for people. That's why they're trying to build these massive data centers. What do you think they're for? Do you really think it's so you could like produce a stupid AI cat video or something like that? A movie, an AI generated movie? Is it really worth it? Do you really think they care about that kind of trash? They don't. That's not what it's for. It's about surveillance. It's about the internet of bio nano things. That's what it's about at the end of the day. That's what they're trying to build. That's what they're getting in place already. They're trying to collect everybody's biometric data already. They've already encapsulated the medical system into all of this. What do you think the COVID rollout was about? What do you think this next step is with this hantavirus that they've been pushing all over? And now Ebola. People weren't buying the hantavirus. Now they're switching to Ebola. Did you
Oh,
see
were
that,
they? I
Richard?
didn't see that.
They declared an international, the World Health Organization declared an international emergency around Ebola. And I guess there were 30 Americans or something in the Congo that were exposed or some such thing to Ebola, is what they're saying in the latest release I just saw this morning. And of course, they're pushing this whole narrative of the hantavirus, which essentially is only something you would generally get like if you leave cans of soda or something in a massive dirty warehouse for a long time and mice get in there and crap and pee all over it and you don't wipe off the lid of the can, you might get sick from it with hantavirus. That's what it was in the past. Well, now there's all kinds of information coming out where there's some new strain that developed in South America or something. They're saying that now it could be contagious from human to human. It never used to be contagious from person to person. But now they're saying it could be contagious. And that's the narrative they're going with. And then there's those on the other side because they control both sides of any narrative like this. You know it as well as I do. We've been
Yeah.
pointing this stuff out for as long as we've been doing this. So you have those that are saying, okay, well, here's the mainstream narrative. Yes, it's a strain that mutated out of South America, and now it's contagious from person to person. Then you have the counter narrative that comes out. No, it's gain of function research produced this now, and this is like just like COVID now, and this kind of thing. So you have both sides of the argument. You're playing the mainstream versus the alternative media or the mainstream alternative media because all of that's been mainstreamed. Your alternative media at this point is the new Fox News. That's how I try to describe it to people. It's all about capturing two different sides, polarities of the argument, and steering people between those two sides to whatever suits the agenda best at the time.
And neither of
But
them, just to point out, why neither of them need to be true. Nothing needs to be happening at
right,
all.
exactly. But this is what they're handing us. So now, what are they doing? They had this big story that this broke out on a brand new cruise ship. Think you need to clean your cruise ship better. Uh, but
You got
at any
rats and rat
rate,
shit everywhere. That's not, yeah.
yeah. I mean, so this is what they said, and now how are they tracking and monitoring these people and finding that these people have this? Well, it's not these people are coming down with symptoms and getting sick and trying to get treatment or anything. You know what they're doing? They're using their good old PCR test to try to detect it to see if somebody's infected. They might not have any symptoms or anything, but they're quarantining them just in case, and they're PCR testing them. And wouldn't you know, they find that they have these, and you could find stories about people saying, yeah, well, they said I was positive but I never had it, and they locked me down and I'm fine, and this kind of thing. So they're out there pulling the same shenanigans they did with COVID, and I don't think people are buying it quite as much this time. So you have a bit more pushback. So now I think they've transferred over to Ebola being the threat because people by and large they think, hantavirus, what's that? They don't really associate it with being anything bad. It doesn't have the same fear factor that something like Ebola has. And notice I'll emphasize fear factor
Mm.
because you always have to remember about television and the programming that they've instilled us with. If you go back about 20, 30 years, there was a popular TV show. I think that they just, now that I'm thinking about it, they just released a new remake of it. Fear Factor, it's called. You could look that up. Fear Factor. Joe Rogan was the original host of the original Fear Factor. Look
Right.
where he's at these days. So they have to play this fear factor. And Ebola is something that is very frightful. And they will play that to the utmost now. Now, is there truly an outbreak of this? Could be. I don't know. I don't have the answers. And like what's the true narrative behind it? Who could say for sure? But what I do know is they're trying to promote this in media, and they've been playing this up for a while. If you look back at what we like to call the synchromistic metadata here, if you go back, a couple of months, it was probably way back in January, who was it? It was it Rob Reiner? Might have been no, not Rob Reiner. A famous Hollywood person, Gene Hackman. That's who it was. Gene Hackman. His wife passed away from,
Yes.
get this, hantavirus. They
Really?
found her in the house. Yeah. And that's what they determined she died from. She contracted hantavirus and died in the house. And he got, I guess, died as well from something related to that. I think it was Gene Hackman. I might have to look that back up.
Yeah, I remember them
But
both
yeah,
passing. Yeah.
yeah, but so that's what see they put the little pre-echo out there, and then all of a sudden there's this big thing on a cruise ship, a brand new cruise ship, and all of this concurrent with an event that happened on a Disney cruise ship where they arrested a bunch of pedophiles for human trafficking on a Disney cruise ship. You don't hear about that too much in the
No,
mainstream press,
I hadn't
but
heard about
that
that at all.
happened at the same time. Yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing. This is why it's good that we're across the pond from one another. You hear about stuff over there we don't hear about here in America, and we hear about stuff in America that you guys don't hear over there. So it's good that we are able
Right,
to
yeah, I
use
hadn't
this
heard about that at
technology.
all. Well, one thing I had heard in terms of the hand device, just to add to what you've just said quickly, is that the first case found off the ship, allegedly, was in, guess where? Israel. And how did they get to Israel? They trampled their hantavirus muddy, shitty shoes all across Europe to get to Israel. And it just really made me laugh. And I thought, of course, it's Israel, isn't it? So that made me laugh.
Yeah, they got to walk across. Like they probably walked, didn't they? They went for a long hike all the way across Europe, so
Yeah,
anybody throughout the entirety
yeah,
of Europe could.
all got
It's
it. Yeah.
you got to laugh at some of it. You really do. They're so preposterous
Yep.
with the things they hand us. But then again, you see morons walking around with a mask on their face out in the broad daylight all alone. So I don't know what to make of all of this stuff. But what I do know is they always put the archetypes out there in the greater zeitgeist before any of these things happen, and we could see how it's been building. And of course, you have the alien narrative along with it. And as you
That's what
pointed
I'm
out,
looking forward to get into. Is like, how does this connect to the aliens, Dwayne?
well, there's always this narrative surrounding aliens about viruses, microbes, all of these things. You could even go back to the old science fiction. Look at War of the Worlds. You remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
What ultimately killed the Martians in War of the Worlds? Germs,
The common
microbes.
cold, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the common cold, a coronavirus, right? Amazing. And you go back as far as H.G. Wells with this stuff, War of the Worlds, and even it predates that, but there's always been this connection or association with aliens and or UFOs or things like that with disease or illness. Go back, you could look at comets were an omen of great illness and stuff, and you could see how events in the sky portended things like the Black Death and things like that. If you go back
Mm,
far enough, historical narrative, there's always been this connotation or connection to it. So when they're rolling out aliens and they're bringing this stuff front and center, it's an archetype. It's coded language. It's an association being made, and we see the association that's also been connected to it in the spiritual sense because there's a lot of religious people and a lot of people here in the political right wing that are equating aliens with demons. So it's something demonic, and of course, if you go
yes.
back,
The
you could
Collins
see
elite, isn't it? They call themselves, allegedly.
exactly. We've discussed some of this in the past on past episodes here. There's this branch within the Pentagon called the Collins Elite, or at least that's what they've been kind of named by other people.
Yep.
And they have these viewpoints, and this is what they espouse to be the truth. Now, is it true? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. I do suspect that anything that we would label extraterrestrial or something like that is probably something more from a spiritual reality than what our base reality is here, and they're not just off-worlders or some such thing. I don't know the true nature of all of it. I suspect there's a lot of different facets involved with it, but it's all based in deception. That's the important thing. I don't know what the true nature of it all is, but what I do know for sure is it's all based in deception and they're lying to us and we're not getting the truth about what's really going on and what's really at the back of it. But what I do know is when I see aliens or an alien narrative, an alien story being told, I know that there's probably going to be some type of a microbe or germ or virus or some such thing that is going to be very quickly coming into the social paradigm very soon thereafter. So when we see all of this stuff happening, we can know some things. And all you have to do to kind of suss this whole process out a little bit more and to find the connection is you go back and you look at back in, was it 2018-ish, when that first Tic Tac UFO video came out and became public, where Lou Elizondo was out speaking about this. You
Yep.
go back, you look at that, and you had Tom DeLonge from Blink 182
Hmm.
was heading up this group called To the Stars Academy. And this is how they got all of this stuff about UFOs out there into the mainstream. And if you look at the team that he put together, you will find that there were no less than, I think it was three microbiologists on that team looking at UFO phenomenon. Why do you need microbiologists? What does that have to do with lights in the sky? You see, it's these kind of little weird connections that are always there. We did a whole breakdown of that on an old episode of Crow 777 Radio. I think it's episode 167 or 169 or something like that. We did, where we talked about this whole To the Stars Academy thing and how they were trying to present this stuff. And I pointed out the connections way back then to the microbes and stuff like that, and with the microbiologists involved. So it's coded language. Like I said, it's an archetype. It's part of this synchromystic metadata. I can't put a tangible kind of clue together as to why it is that these things are connected in that way, but it's most certainly there. There's a connection of some sort. I can't say like why it's used as a connection, but there is something
But
to it.
the
And
connection
it's
to
been
me
there
would
for a
be
long
that
time.
it's the unseen. You can't see it with the naked eye. It's not it's there, but it's not there. You can do anything with that.
Oh, absolutely. It's the invisible enemy idea, right? They use this all the time. It's the invisible enemy. It's the nuclear weapons in Iran.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's all the same stuff. It's the same archetype over and over, and they're always interconnected in this way. So they've been leveraging this against the human mind for a long time now. It's been a slow roll. They've introduced first back at the end of 2024. If you think back, we had all of these mystery drones appearing in the skies, especially over New Jersey and other places here in the US and around the world. These mystery drones, that's what they called them. So they were gearing up for something. They wanted us looking skyward and thinking in terms of extraterrestrials. This is the slow use of the Overton window tool to get the human mind to accept certain things slowly over the course of time. So they rolled that out. Then they started more heavily with more of the UFO disclosure. You could even go back before the mystery drones. David Grush testified, I think it was back in 2023 in Congress, that there were these clandestine UFO retrieval projects that went on surrounding the US government and outside of their control, and that they had actually been able to capture non human biologics and stuff like this. He was saying all these things in Congress openly. And that's
Hmm.
what really is part of the slow roll here. So we've had, ever since 2018, with this drop from Tom DeLonge and the To the Stars Academy, we've had this trickling out of information over the course of those years intervening ever since now. And now we're seeing how it's all kind of becoming the focus for a lot of things happening now.
Could I
It's
just
the
say
slow build.
sorry, Wayne. I just want to go back to what you were saying before about these polarities. So say we get to this point. And kind of my take on it at the moment is that some of these talks of Jin and Archon and that lot kind of like take the locus of control out of you and put it elsewhere. And I don't think that's helpful. I think that's some sort of like we were talking about mentalism and mind tricks and power suggestion. I think there's a lot of that going on. And if they wanted to come and take over, they just would. That's kind of my take on it is that actually a lot of it's mind stuff. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's where I am at the moment with it. And that may change in the future. But what you've pointed out there was really interesting. I just wanted to pick up on this because you talked about the polarities being played off against each other. You've got on one side a microbiome virus from an ET entity coming in, but then you've got the demonic entities on the other side coming in from another. place, another reality. Neither of them could be seen at the moment. So then um, you've got your rainbow, you've got your visible light spectrum, you've got the archons on this side as well, but then you've got your ETs on this side. What better way? And I'm just putting this out there. What to get your thoughts on this because you're much better informed than I am. To play two groups off against each other, one going, these are the ETs in charge, the Anunnaki, these type things, and they'll get us with their virus, or you've got the demonic entities on the other side. You do have a polarity there, both fear based, but there is an arena to work in, and none of it may be true. I just want to get your thoughts on that hypothesis, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I mean that's certainly what's going on. Whether it doesn't matter who it is that's really controlling these narrative plus counter narrative. It's the same group of people controlling both sides. That's the important thing to remember. And there is manipulation that goes on, psychological manipulation, and it's a conditioning program. That's why I try to point out, and that's what we've been pointing out. That's why I'm saying if you go back to 2018 now and look at what's transpired since then to now in the UFO narrative of things and see how public consciousness has shifted into it all the more. Back when it was first presented in 2018 with this release of the Tic Tac UFO video and stuff like that by the New York Times, that's when people first said, okay, maybe there's something serious to this. And then fast forward 5 years, you have David Grush coming out and saying there's these clandestine programs. And now you have Congress actually looking at this legitimately. And you have the president demanding the release of these UFO files. And you're having all of this disclosure, this soft disclosure going on. Things that if you go back 10 years, people wouldn't even consider. They'd say that's all silly, that's all nonsense, there's nothing to it. Well, now people are like hooked into it. And even to the point where the entertainment's on board with it because Steven Spielberg's releasing a new movie called Disclosure Day on June the 12th. Gee,
Yep.
amazing how time coordinates with events going on right now, right? But people don't look at that. It's all part of the programming that's going on.
So
It
that
is program.
disclosure date is sorry, is that about eight? So that's saying is it positing that it's an alien invasion? So on one side you've got the fake alien invasion, we would say, if in the conspiracy theory world, fake alien invasion. But to me, you've also got fake demonic entity incursion. To me, they're both bollocks, quite frankly. That's where I am at the moment. I could be wrong. Obviously, I don't know everything. I'm a person in Norfolk, in England, near the seaside. But to me, they both sound like show me the evidence. Because if the ETs are bollocks, I'm going to probably go with the demonic entities being bollocks too. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying I look up in the sky and don't think anything's out there. But I don't think anyone's coming to get us because why? What? There's enough for everyone. If they're that so far that so far advanced, what would we have? What they need? They were where we were where they are. It's like going into kindergarten and nicking the toys when you're 48. What would be the point? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
Exactly, but it doesn't have to make sense for them to use it as a programming template. That's the whole point. It doesn't need to make sense, and it probably doesn't make sense because, and they use both sides of that argument too. You have guys like Stephen Greer out there saying, "Oh no, they're not hostile; they're friendly. It's the human race that's the hostile ones, and they're worried about us." And that's see, they cover all sides of the argument.
Isn't it?
They really do. It's so insidious that the way that it all works.
It's
They haven't
triangulation, isn't
actually.
it? It's either
It is
mummy or daddy or the kid's fault. Whatever it is, someone's to blame. So if we're the kids,
right.
say daddy is the aliens and mummy's the demonic entities. One of you are. Just argue amongst yourself. And that way we can control you.
Right. And in the meantime, they're hiding technologies that could really be transformative from people. That's what's the important part. And that's why they have people arguing over aliens and demons. It's about the technology, it's about free energy, it's about being able to access free energy that would change the world. Think about it this way, and I think we've discussed this in the past here too. If you could have a device with no moving parts, about the size of a basketball, that could power everything in your house for eternity without utilizing any resources or producing any heat or anything like that, think about all the things you could do with that.
Mm.
Think about it. That would solve the scarcity crisis in this world, wouldn't it? If you could have a device that size that could give you unlimited amounts of electricity for whatever you need at any given time, and wirelessly as well, that would transform the world overnight. That would collapse entire economies. The oil production would come to a screeching halt overnight.
Well, also
All
the
of these,
control would be gone, Wayne, because
exactly.
we couldn't be
That's why
controlled
they,
because we would be self-sufficient.
exactly. They don't want us self sufficient. They don't want you to have that type of an ability. And that's the whole thing because, like, this whole tech idea of this technology existed way back over 100 years ago as well. Tesla was developing these things, and of course, his financer, J.P. Morgan, said, "How do I put a meter on that?"
Mm.
When he was presenting him with the ideas of the free electricity, wireless electricity, and he shut him down. He heavily funded Tesla's research at Wardenclyffe on Long Island in New
Yeah.
York. Well, that whole all came to a screeching halt once he realized what it was that Tesla was onto. It was about free energy, being able to transmit free electricity wirelessly through the air to everywhere on the planet, and everybody would have access to it. There would be no way to control that. See, that's what it's about. These people are all about control. And if this type of technology gets out there, they lose control overnight, and they don't want that.
Isn't it funny
It
that,
would,
they've put the um on Long Island? So what are the things in Long Island famous for? The Montauk Project. Now, to me, the Montauk Project, when you clearly watch Stranger Things, which I think is brilliant, by the way. It's the Kabbalah. The is clearly based on the Kabbalah, even down to the tree and the upside down being the upside down tree of life, the tree of death. It's all the Kabbalah. I'm at the point where I think the whole Montauk project thing was a cover up for the technology that's was made there, and there is a Tesla tower, I think, still there today, but it's now a museum. So Tesla was on Montauk, right, literally just down the road from the where the Montauk project allegedly took place. Now I'm smelling I'm smelling a big, large cow type thing's fecal matter from that.
yeah. I mean, all of these things, these different projects and stuff that were going on, they're all interrelated in a lot of ways, and it always ties back to the occult. And like you said, you could find the Kabbalistic symbology inherent everywhere with all of this stuff because it all connects. It's all interrelated. It's all part of a greater psychological warfare operation that has been ongoing, bare minimum, since at least 1954 against the American public. We are indeed in the heart of the Third World War. It's a domestic warfare that's been going on for the longest time from the international elite against the general public. They've been trying to really put all their ducks in a row and bring about their new world order that they want, their utopian dream, the transhumanist future scenario, where it will be just a select few of these elitist families that could run around the world, do whatever they want, have access to all the resources, anything they want, be godlike in their control over everything. And then just a couple of lower class peons to serve them, whatever they deem as necessary, just to keep the machinery running. And the more of the machinery they have, the less human beings they need in that whole mix. So, this is actually their viewpoint and what they're trying to produce through all of this. It's the same old new world order like we've always talked about before. It's just it's becoming a little bit more what's nuanced, I guess you could say, in the social narratives they're trying to produce. So now we're going to mix in a plentitude of scapegoats. It's demonic entities, it's aliens, it's these elitist pedophiles, it's all of these people that are the scapegoats for all of it. And they try to deflect the conversation to things that don't really ultimately affect the outcome of what they want. So they will keep people arguing it's aliens, it's demons, when in fact it's a couple of scumbags who are looking to put themselves in this transcendent state or to become godlike in this
Mm.
world and use these technologies to advance themselves to that. Now we're getting to the point where the technologies are becoming so sophisticated that they could actually emulate a lot of these things that they're telling you really are at the heart of what's going on. So, aliens, why haven't we really seen the rollout of aliens publicly in the past? Well, the technology and the illusion wasn't quite ready yet. But now we have all these deep fakes, all of this AI video, all of these other methods that they have, garage biology, all of this stuff going on where they could probably effectively present you with something and say, ta-da, here's the alien. They could do that now. They couldn't do that in the past. So now they'll tell you, here's the alien. There it is. And we've encountered that there's been these rogue factions that have been working outside the control of the Congress and everything else, and we've got to hold these people accountable for all of the lies and the manipulations they've done through the years. And we were tricked by all of this, and now here's the aliens. There you go. So now we're gonna do what the aliens say. They're here to help us.
And this
You,
is
you
why
see
it's
how it
important, isn't
works?
it? Like what I said
Yeah.
earlier, Wayne, just to point on that, just to back up what you're saying there. The Vatican have got stock indexes in Meta, Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, and Alphabet. All of these big and everything that comes under Alphabet, by the way. So that's it's Google, but that's the main, and people don't know, and I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows that. But imagine everything that comes under Alphabet, everything from A to Z, really. Um, that's the Vatican. What could they do with that? We might let's get some antichrist shit going on here, shall we? It's insane, isn't it? And this is why I think I'm getting a lot of pushback at the moment, and in personally, and I won't go into detail, but I am because I am pointing out I'm not going with the demons or the aliens or any of that stuff. I'm afraid. I'm saying that these are all mentalist mind tricks, alchemy, like the Magi, knew how your mind works to create images in your head so that you are able to control you with those images. Now, I'm not saying aliens don't exist. I'm not saying demonic entities don't exist. I'm saying in this case, these things are the power of suggestion, and that's how they get you doing these things. Look at Donald Trump when he was allegedly assassinated for the 160th time. Who was standing beside him? Lou Pearlman. Lou Pearlman, sorry, Oz Pearlman, not Lou Pearlman. I think he's a record producer. Oz Pearlman, Oz Pearlman, Oz, Wizard of Oz, and you pointed him out ages ago before I even knew who he was. Oz Perlman, Wizard of Oz, Oz behind the green bloody curtain that's reptilian because you can see it in it's clearly a reptilian skin when you look watch Wizard of Oz. Oz Perlman is a mentalist. He was at that precise moment when them shots went off out in the foyer, was performing a distraction trick. So those at the table were open to suggestion because they were distracted and they could be supplanted with the suggestion that there was someone coming. And maybe even Trump didn't know about this one. I could say that he didn't look like to me he actually did, but maybe he did. I don't know. I'm not in his head. But the point is, these are mind tricks. These are mentalist tricks. These are cheap scams, cheap tricks. The alien invasion is a cheap scam, a cheap light show. The demonic entities is a cheap way of getting in your head and telling you that things are not what they are. The locus of control, I will always tell you, is with you. I will always say the free energy that they want to use is you. You pick up the cup, you drink the drink. You did all of that. They want to make control that process because they need to get you to do the things that they need to get you to do. You are the free energy. And you're the free energy that comes up with the ideas that makes this technology that creates free electrical energy. But it comes from you. They need to get in here. And it really and now I'm starting to talk like this. It's solution based. And I'm not very popular right now because that doesn't put me in the alien demonic camp or I mean, what does that do? No one can do it with that because it's empowering you to go, none of this is real. Stop letting them fuck with your head. And I'm not saying that these things don't exist. Obviously, there's something when we die and something we was there before we were alive. There's something else going on. Of course, I don't know. But I've seen no evidence in 20 years nearly of looking at this stuff that these things are trying to harm us or hurt us. The only people that benefit from that is the ones who want to control you as the free energy and want you to smash your face into the cup when you need to drink it. And it annoys me. I'm passionate about it. I'm angry about it because I've been around this a long time, and I've been used to push these narratives. I've been used to push this stuff out, and I'm pissed off because that's not what I got on this for. I got into this to make sure people were protected from this stuff, and it's not what I'm finding out that it was, and I'm disappointed and I'm pissed off, and it's probably a great place to be because I want what's best for you, and I know you want what's best for me, Wayne, and that's why we get on. We've got kids, but I don't want my kids growing up thinking the aliens are coming or the demons are going to eat them. That's not the world I want them to be in.
Right. And that's not to say maybe this stuff doesn't have an element involved in it. It probably does to some degree or another. But the important point you're pointing out, Richard, is it ultimately comes down to us, ourselves. Do we accept it? Do we reject it? Everything in this world is an offer, and you can accept the offer or reject the offer. And we need to reject that offer because that's what we can control. You see, we can't change anybody else's mind about things. The only mind in this world you can change is your own. So it starts with you, it starts with each one of us, where we need to decide what kind of a future do we want. Do we want to accept what they're handing us? Do we want to accept this offer? Because right now they're offering us two different paths to choose.
Mm,
And I'm here to tell you, we're all individuals, and each of us has our own path we can carve for ourselves. We don't have to accept what they're handing us, although they'll try to make it as difficult for us as possible. And we'll look around at society, and many people will be bought into those paradigms. So, right now, we have the alien agenda or the demonic agenda. Pick a side. See,
yeah.
this is how they've always controlled people. It's the same old Hegelian dialectic at play. Pick one side of the narrative. You fall in one camp or the other. There can't be any independent thought. You're either in this part of group think or that part of group think. And if they have you in that group, then they can steer whatever you do and control whatever you do. But we can reject that, and the real power lies with us. We can say, no, I don't want any part of that. I'm not going to empower any of that. So they hand us all these narratives, and they're all carefully crafted narratives to affect you in a psychological way in your unconscious mind to reflect in conscious behavior later. And that's why they do these slow programming templates like what we were talking about with the whole alien disclosure thing over the course of years now. Or and plus the indoctrination with the whole scamdemic situation that they rolled out. That was a massive test. And sadly, the vast bulk of humanity failed that test. But there are enough of us that were a holdout that it had an effect on them in rolling out their plans. It slowed their roll a little bit now. So now they have to try to pivot from where they once were, where they thought they had total control and lockdown over people. So now they have to reposition themselves to try to steer people's minds in another direction. So that's why you'll notice this big political shift, especially here in America, and you see it around the world. People have gone from this progressive left wing stance largely all the way over to this conservative right wing stance. They shifted gears
Mm,
because people were beginning to see through the progressive nonsense how destructive a lot of it was. So now they're going to swing things back full circle in the other direction to the destructive end of that polarity as well. So that's what's going on. You see, they can't play a common sense approach up the middle. To do that, then it would make them lose control because people would apply that common sense, become more independent, like we said, wouldn't have to depend upon them for anything, and that would make people less complacent and more responsible for themselves. And that's sadly what's lacking in this world. We slough off our responsibilities on others. We give our power and our sovereignty over to the politician to represent us. And there's nothing wrong with a representative form of government if it works how it's supposed to. But that always leads to an abuse of power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's been said over and over again, and it doesn't matter if this candidate or that candidate goes into the political sphere with good intentions or not. They always get sucked up in that whole cesspool that is politics. It always seems to happen. And they line their own pockets along the way. And it's human nature. And see, the psychological controllers of this world, they know that. They know how human beings operate on a very in-depth level.
Yep.
So they will leverage these principles against us in that way. So they hand us archetypes to affect our unconscious mind, and they slowly program us that way. And we're all susceptible to this. We all have our own preconceived ideas and notions of things. We all have our pre-existent belief systems that we often will try to reify. And anything that comes along that shakes our worldview, largely we discard or discredit. And we shouldn't do that. We need to maintain an open mind, but not so open that our brains fall out. That's what I like to
Yep.
say all the time. I try to maintain an objective viewpoint. I separate my position, my feelings about this, my belief systems from the information itself. And most people can't do that. You see, you are not your beliefs. See, this is the most important thing people could come to understand, and it helps them objectify and separate themselves from the bits of information you see. And it helps you to compartmentalize it sort of in your mind so that you could understand how it's been manipulated against you. You are not your beliefs. You are something different than your beliefs. You are not your worldview, and nobody else is your worldview either. So when you understand that, and you could look at something as objective, neutral information and not allow it to affect you in a way wherein it makes your cognitive dissonance kick in and you reject the information and push it off to the side and not even consider it, then you could actually get to the place where you can look at all of this stuff and see the patterns. That's what it really is. It's pattern recognition. Then you could see the bits of synchronistic metadata out there in the greater information field leading the path to where it is now. So we have all this interconnected, and this comes right back to the whole data center and digital ID thing, because that's what they're doing. They're going to present you with a reality that's custom tailored to you through your social media and various other places, like they've been doing now for the past how many years. But it's going to get to the point where at some point they'll be able to affect people in their everyday interaction out in the real world with this. They'll be able to control your perception of the entire reality. That's when all this stuff becomes invasive through nanotechnology and all of that other stuff. The internet of bio nano things, like we were alluding to earlier. That's what it's about. That's what these data centers are for. That's why they're developing 6G right now and rolling that out. And they're working on 10G systems now because they need that data speed. They need that interconnectivity. They need all of these different nodes in the network. That's why they need these massive data centers, because it's all about actually reading and writing to your actual genetic
Mm.
code in real time and utilizing different networks that they've covertly implanted into your biological system. And once they have that, once they have access directly to your brain, they can control your perceptions directly. And once they can do that, it's game over. They can make you believe anything they want. So, do you believe it's aliens? Here, look, it's an alien. Do you believe it's demons? Oh, it's definitely demons. Look, they could use that and manipulate that against you. This is the danger where we're at right now. And it's all based in this artificial intelligence technology development. So, if you want the true definition of the demon or the alien, it's likely AI.
What
That's
I
the
was going
bottom
to
line.
say there, really fascinating to bring it back to what you gave the example earlier on of the two paths. So the alien path or the demonic path is just as an example of what this thing is. And then you said, but we're all individuals and we all carve our own path. So what was coming to mind when you were saying that was that they know that, but they want to hijack every single, so not that you choose your own path, but they want to provide you with your individual path. So everybody is on an individual path, so almost living in a reality of your own, so you can't really connect, but it's been given to you and provided to you as opposed to you choosing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that's exactly what they want, because this is actually usurping your birthright, really, your divine birthright. It's all about the world within. It's about looking within yourself. It's what the soul is about. It's your very soul, your spirit. That's what they're trying to capture here. Your soul. That because essentially that's what it is. If they could control your absolute perception of reality and who you are, they could control who and what you are on this type of a level, well, then they've captured your soul. And that's exactly what it is. So we need to reject their offers as much as possible. And in so doing, they might make life uncomfortable for us for a time, but this too shall pass.
Mm.
And it's a testing in this world. But that's ultimately what these psychopaths want to do. They want total, absolute control of everything. And I think they're getting some pushback, but they're still just proceeding with their plans because not enough people are being, I guess, I should say, not enough people are objecting enough to the things they're doing. Like, look at the Epstein release as an example of that. Where's the arrests? I want to know, where's the arrests?
Yep.
Nothing's happened. Nothing will happen. I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Nothing's going to happen. And this is the problem. We are not holding people to account the way we should. We're not stepping up and taking responsibility for these things for ourselves. We're actually entrusting that to these political systems that are so corrupt and flawed to the core. We're giving that to them to handle. And they're not handling it because they're part of the corruption. That's the problem. And nobody's bringing them to account or holding them to account. So back to the main topic we're talking about, digital ID, data centers, who's paying for it? Well, there's several big corporations that seem to come up all the time when you're talking about who's building the data centers. Let me just do a quick Google search here. Who is building the data centers? Let me see. I can only type so fast. Who's building data centers? It says giant tech conglomerates are and real estate developers are the ones building these.
What, like,
The
like,
companies,
like Les Wexner, those types?
yeah, it's crazy. So, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Meta, Oracle, OpenAI, Equinix, Digital Realty, Cyrus One, Stack Infrastructure, Vantage Data Centers, Compass Data Centers, Holder Construction, DPR Construction, Turner Construction, HITT Construction, Clayco, Jacobs, and many of these are owned by a little corporation known as BlackRock, right?
Mm.
So these are the same big players involved with this. And who are these contractors? Where do they get their money from? DARPA,
Yep.
government programs. Like you could just use Amazon as an example. You know how much money Bezos gets from governments for Amazon, and he doesn't pay any taxes on any of this stuff or anything either. Look at that as an example. But these are the ones, so they're getting all of these monies from places like DARPA and the military industrial complex. And where does that money come from? Us,
That's, yeah.
the taxpayer. We're paying for it. Nobody wants it. Anybody you talk to, I've talked to, I don't know how many people about data centers. Nobody wants them. Nobody asked for them. Nobody likes the idea of them. Nobody wants them in their neighborhood. Nobody wants them. Nobody will use them. There's no reason for them to build such a thing. That is the stance you get from people. Doesn't matter their political affiliation, their religious affiliation. Everybody seems to agree there's no need for data centers. We don't want them. Let's stop building them. This is a topic I think we could get unified behind across the board with everybody. And we need to really step up
But
and
this is what I
begin to
was saying in the UK, Wayne. That's my
right.
example from the start. Was the UK government gave all that funding to spread out Palantir Tech across London and they're in business, and we all know Peter Thiel and Musk go way back, PayPal. But Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, Elon Musk, they're all in business, XAI with Palantir in that situation. That's government, UK government funded money. That's your tax money. A little bit of that tax money went from Elon Musk to pay for Tommy Robinson's legal fees. He's on stage having a go at Keir Starmer, the guy that's putting the money in the chute that's landed in his back pocket. They don't give a shit about you, but what they do know is that 50,000 of you have turned up to be facial recognized and biometrically scanned whilst you were on the streets. And you were on the streets of the city of London at the time. They are laughing at you. And I'm trying to point this out. And not only that, is they're using you, obviously the Christian faith as well, the nationalism, all of this Knights Templar nonsense, all of this stuff behind it. They are laughing at you. And Tommy is like a minion in all this thing. We saw how derogatory they were to him in the Epstein files. He's a nothing in terms of this stuff. And I mean, I kind of feel a bit sorry for him in a sense. He's got himself involved in this. He's way beyond his, you know, his jurisdiction in that sense. But he's laughing. They're all laughing. They're laughing at you having a go at Starmer, whilst Starmer's putting the money in the chute to land in Tommy's back pocket. And all the time they're building this AI. We had I don't know if you know, but we had a rally here that David Icke went to and a few others went to. It was about 6 months ago, and it was the stop the digital ID rally. At the very same day with the in London, and I'm not joking. On the back of the stage of the digital ID, literally on the back of it, was Tommy Robinson's Christian rally. The same day, the same time. He was blatantly taking people from the digital ID to go to do his Christian madness. And you're like,
It's amazing they do this stuff, isn't it? It's
it,
so insidious. People don't see it. It really is, and nobody wants digital ID or data centers, right? Everybody you talk to, like I said, regardless of political affiliation, with the exception of maybe a select few people that have a vested financial interest in data centers,
mm,
there's there most people are going to say no, we don't want one here, and because they know they're going to suffer under it, because not only are taxpayer dollars being taken to pay for this, but your electric bill and everything's going to go through the roof, your water bill is going to go through the roof, and people know it, and it's admitted and it's known to pay for this.
yeah,
And what is it for? That's the other question that nobody seems to be asking. Is it so you could have faster internet, or you could use AI tools to produce a 2 hour long movie with no actual people involved or anything like that? You can make stupid cat videos or whatever, like cat Luke Skywalker running around
yeah,
saving the galaxy or something. Is that really what it's for? Is it worth it? It's not. Nobody wants that. And I'll tell you what, like, I'm very surprised this younger generation, like uh, my 16-year-old son, is very much untrusting of AI and doesn't like it and doesn't like all of this stuff. And a lot of his generation are like that. They don't have any faith or trust in it whatsoever. They don't want it. They think it's been overdone and overused, and it's really just cheapifying everything, for lack of better terms.
mm,
It's turning everything into total garbage. And essentially, we could see that. That's what it's all about and what it's going to do. So, is that the real nature of what these data centers are for? No, it's not. That defies logic to think nobody wants them, nobody asked for them, nobody's happy about them. They are just monstrosities that consume resources on an unfathomable level, and the benefit from them is negligible at best. There's no true benefit. In fact, even like these AI movie producing softwares and stuff like that, many of them have buckled because they can't financially sustain themselves. They're spending more money producing this stuff and hosting video and stuff than it's actually giving them revenues for.
yeah,
It's not viable. Everybody knows it, but yet they're still building data centers. Why? Mass surveillance, mass data collection,
yep,
the bio nanotechnology being implemented here, the Internet of Bodies. The Internet of Bodies is here. It's been here. The World Economic Forum put out a paper back around 2018 or so. The Internet of Bodies is here. That's the title of it. That's what they want. That's what they're going for. You have RFK out there pushing wearables. Next step is implantables, and that's coming next. And it's already been done to a lot of people covertly, and they don't know it. COVID shot. But beside that, that's what this is about. It's about capturing all of your data, your biological information, everything into this internet of bio nano things. That's where we're going with it. That's what the data centers are for. They already have some of the tracking materials out there in the world. Now it's all about centralizing the data and having these massive data centers as nodes to do so that they can track and monitor everything 24/7, things going on in your body, in your brain. The Internet of Thoughts is a subsystem of this Internet of Bodies, by the way.
yep.
It's real. This is out there. There's white papers about it. I'm not making that up. People could go look that up. It's been talked about. That's what they're trying to do. And that's what they want to build. And they need this infrastructure in place to be able to police that system because that's what it's about. Social credit scores, everything attached to it. Pre crime, thought crime, all the stuff talked about in science fiction. That's what they're attempting to build. And they're going to give you scapegoats to look at instead. They're going to distract you from that. Is it aliens? Is it demons? See, that's how it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just to add this before we end now, we're coming to the end of the show. I write in my book, cheap plug. Dayat is data, and that's obviously an anagram of data is Dayat, and Dayat is your 11th hidden Sephiroth on the Kabbalah tree of life. It's the portal between the seen and the unseen, and obviously they're using that data on you as your privacy. It's the stuff that other people don't need to know about. That's what they want to weaponize against you. That's why you will have no privacy, and that's going to change you psychologically as well, because you're going to be watched all the time. So that's going to have a massive effect on your psyche. But they act data, same thing. Go and have a look at it. It's hidden, and it should stay hidden because it's your privacy. There's a boundary that they should not be crossing. That's the point. And as you say, they want your soul. They want to cross that boundary, and that's possession. They want to, like vampires, aren't they? So where can people find your work, Wayne? This has been fantastic.
People could find me at my website, www.alchemicaltechrevolution.com. And where could the good people find you, Richard, and get a hold of your new book?
They can get hold of the book. What was it called? A Death Cult's Quest for Immortality. I'm Immortal. It is on Amazon. You can get the ebook and a paperback, and the audio book will be out as soon as I can get it done. And you can head over to Patreon. Just put Richard Willett in there. You'll find me on Patreon and YouTube. Put in Richard Willett Conspiracies, and you'll find me there. I've got a Substack as well. Some may conspire. You could support my work on there on any of those platforms. That would be massively helpful. I'd really appreciate it.
And just as an aside, I will put links to all of Richard's stuff on my website too. So if
Okay.
you have trouble finding him or remembering all these different places, I'll put it on my website. You could find it. So
Cheers, mate.
we'll get traffic over there.
Thank you. We'll see you in a few weeks' time. Take care.